Hello Targar friends. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another Orca Mode workout. And just a reminder for those of you who watch these videos every single day, please remember to click like down below. If we could keep the likes higher than the dislikes, it would be greatly appreciated, and only you have the ability to do that. So just peek down and make sure that happens, guys, because I know you guys enjoy these or you wouldn't watch them every day. But you guys saw the random number generator. We got something different today, and it ended up being 125 pounds of band tension. My chart called for 120, but I went ahead and measured it because I knew it would be slightly off. The bands that I had using this new method, which seems to be the easiest to control it, ended up being 125, so 5 pounds heavier, give or take a pound. But band tension is very, very hard, and I got sumo deadlifts. This is the first sumo I think I've had in just a bit, at least doing it daily. So it was a little bit different. Kind of got to get in my groove again. I was getting a little better at sumo. I haven't done as much of it, so we'll get into the groove, but we'll get it randomly all through here. So we have to keep pulling sumo, pulling conventional, everything else. And I already put up the slow-mo of this, so this will be in real time. And anyone who's pulled against heavy bands understands. A lot of times you'll get guys who will say, well, going against bands, isn't that just, a lot easier? I know that's 610 at the lockout, but isn't that a lot easier than 600 pounds? It's like, no. You guys have seen me pull 600 off of a 2-inch block. Keep in mind, and that went really fast. This felt a little harder than that. And it has to do with the heavy bands. And anyone who's messed with the bands, heavy band work. I'm talking things where you're getting above 50 pounds of bands. They know exactly what I'm talking about. And for those of you who haven't done it, you don't understand, and that's okay. It's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to. Just understand that it probably is harder than you think it is. And it's a good test of grip strength. Like, this tells me a lot about where my grip is, that the grip training's paying off. All the chins are paying off, taking good care of my calluses, doing a little bit of extra grip work. It's all paying off. Because for me, the grip on one of the deadlifts I missed a lockout on, we know it was hamstrings, but also my grip looked a little slippery, like with that 605 sumo. So because I held nice and good at the lockout with 610 at the lockout against bands, and bands are hard on your lockout. They're really, really hard for lockout. Again, people who've messed with them understand. I was happy with that. And I felt like that was pretty close to a true max. I might have been able to go 10 pounds heavier, maybe. But notice I didn't say I could. Wasn't that, oh yeah, no doubt. I think maybe. I might have been able to pull one more single a little heavier. But that was definitely above 95%. Absolutely. So we're going to roll with it. So it ended up being 485 with 125 pounds of band tension. Up next, I did shrugs, and some people are noting, they're like, well, if you're doing these without straps, isn't your grip the limiting factor? Yes, my grip is a limiting factor, and I don't care, because I'm doing these, one, for traps, just to get some extra load in my traps, and for extra grip training. I'm counting it as my grip training, and the traps are still getting fatigued. 50 reps with 275 for a nice full range of motion, no cheating, no power shrugs, right? It's a good amount of trap stimulation, and that's fine. Yeah, the grip is getting tough near the end, and I could say the grip might be limiting me. I'm going to keep doing grip training, and this counts as grip training. So I'm not that worried. My traps get a lot of work. This is just ensuring some extra work, because I know that traps might help my deadlifts. They're not particularly a weak link. I felt like they could become a possible weak link on my conventional pull the other day. Didn't say that they absolutely were, but this is a good place to work them in. I do know I need extra grip training. I know that I could stand to have a little more trap. So we're doing this. And some people have asked, what's up with the technique? Why are you leaning over? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Because I'm trying to work my entire trap. Okay, I'm working my full trap. I don't care about, some people do certain movements trying to just hit the upper trap. We want to get the mid trap. We want to get the upper trap. Want the grip training? This will let me do that. So that slight forward bend lets me really, really hammer the entire trap more. And, a lot of people, they mess these sort of things up, and then they wonder why they don't get the traps that they want. Again, that's an effective way to do shrugs. It works, and I get grip training. So then we went ahead and went with good mornings. I went up 10 pounds. I've been doing these with 185. And it's challenging, and I get good work, but I do need to start progressing on these. So I went up 10 pounds, and I'm going to slowly start working these up as long as I can maintain the form that I want, get the good training volume, workload, everything in. But yeah, we need the progressive overload on this stuff. These sets need to get more and more challenging. Even though some of these exercises we're not going super heavy, we are going for a lot of volume. Tension matters, progressive overload does matter. Does matter. But it is about total fatigue. But what people need to remember, if you can add 5% or 10% weight over time, even with challenging sets with something like 5x10, you obviously get more hypertrophy. And we're doing all these exercises to hypertrophy our weak links. I've broken down this training very clearly in detail lately. In fact, I did a video earlier today explaining what's going on with it. And people should have a better idea. But we come in and we do very large volumes of very specific exercises to hit all my weak points, to thicken up just general hypertrophy, picking exercises that have a very good stimulus to fatigue ratio. A lot of them will have movement pattern carryover as far as the hypertrophy side to all my bigger lifts, and we're training both general size with a bias towards any weak points that we see from the max effort lifts. Now, we did get some weak points that we've noticed on some sumo over a week ago, a couple weeks ago. We're seeing some weak points coming out on the conventional against change, and so I'm training those. I'm putting extra effort into those. Now, I didn't see any weak points today. I couldn't identify anything as a specific weakness on today's max effort. It was just challenging. It was hard, but nothing gave out. So there's nothing to address. We'll just train everything that we know has been possible weak links on previous deadlifts, and let's just get strong top to bottom. So today wasn't really a specialization day. It was just overall hypertrophy for everything, ranging from my grip and then everything from my traps down to my hamstrings. Right? We want traps, the entire trap. We want the erectors. That includes thoracic erectors, spinal erectors, glutes, hamstrings, all of these things. So we did 5x10 on the good mornings with a 10-pound weight increase. So that is progressive overload. So we've added more weight. Same thing on the shrugs. I went ahead and went with the weight I did for the final 4 sets for all 5 sets this time. So that's a mild amount of progressive overload, and we just slowly work up. Keep working up. Try to push things as close to limit sets as possible. But with some of these, I have to be a little more careful. Some of these have back involvement and things, and we do need to be aware of that. Be careful with it. Sometimes it is just about getting a good solid amount of workload in with quality reps. But we obviously do need to generate fatigue. And so things do need to be pretty close to limit sets. And I do a fair amount of training to failure on different exercises. So we're trying to push those limits. Now, there's obviously some quad work involved with today too, but it's not an ultra high priority on a pulling day. Throwing in a little bit of supplemental quad work on days where we pick the squat, which is every other lower body day. We do a squat variation, and every other one we do a deadlift. So the assistance movements tend to be a little more specialized, and it's fine because we get plenty of overlap. Because there is some quad being hit. And the same thing, even my squat days, there is some of the deadlift muscles being involved that aren't always as specific to the supplemental lift, so it all gets worked a bit. But they just tend to be biased more in these directions. And when you think about the fact that I'm getting them each one every 4 days, there's plenty of overlap because of the frequency involved. Because, again, we're training every day doing this. But minor weight increase on the good mornings. They felt good. I was fairly fatigued as I got further into this workout. I'm not going to lie. I started losing my motivations after the glute bridges. Now, the glute bridges, I went with the same weight I went with last time because this weight's now getting challenging. I don't feel like I'm quite ready to increase the weight. Maybe next time we'll see if we can start loading it back up and try to get another 10 pounds on. Because I felt like last session I was really, some of the reps got a little shortchanged at the top. Today, I felt like they were getting better. I felt like I got the appropriate range of motion. With the new weight, it all went good. It was challenging. And maybe we'll be able to go up 10 pounds next time. We'll see. See how it feels. Get under the barbell and find out. But we did 5x10 on this, and then I'm not going to lie. Part of me didn't want to do the glute ham raises. I wasn't feeling the glute ham raises at all. At all. But I'm like, I need to do some of them, and I did 3 sets of them. And, I just lost my motivation this far into the workout. And it happens. When you're maxing every day and then you're pushing a lot of these harder sets. So a lot of times I'm doing limit sets and I'm putting effort into it. But if I'm just kind of playing around entirely, just going through the motions on some of these, I'm probably not getting as much out of them. At that point, it's turning into mindless volume. And I felt like these were challenging enough, and my glutes were kind of lit up and everything. My lower back was really feeling all the good mornings, and these glute bridges, I was fatigued by the time I finished these. I felt like I was not putting 100% into the glute ham raises. So I did 3 sets instead of 5, and I called it quits. But, this was a fair amount of training today. All the same muscles got hit. My hamstrings got hit. Right, we did a max sumo. We did 5 sets of good mornings with a weight increase and then 5 sets of glute bridges. My hamstrings got worked. But I felt like my heart just wasn't in it on the final exercise. And so instead of pushing out 5, I did 3. But that ended up being 18 sets of supplemental lifts, 18 work sets, even with cutting that down to 3. Right, because we did 5 sets of shrugs, 5 sets of good mornings, 5 sets of glute bridges. Those are all big exercises, especially after hitting a training max on a deadlift. Pretty good amount of work. Now, people, when we get to the glute ham raises, they might point out, man, you're using that really light band. That's right, and I've been doing them with just body weight. Keep in mind, I'm doing other hamstring work first. I'm fatigued. Glute ham raise is already a challenging lift, and so I'm just trying to get a little bit of additional workload. I know that band's not very much. My goal is to get really strong at the glute ham raise. I know that building thicker hamstrings all the way around, particularly the fact that the glute ham raise hits the hamstrings in a way that none of these hip hinging motions do. It gives a unique training stimulus. So I need to get strong at it. But you've got to microload like everything else. I'm microloading. And so I'm going to start with really light bands like this. This is almost no extra tension, even at the lockout. It's like maybe 10 pounds. Maybe 10 pounds of band tension. Right? Maybe 15. I would need to actually measure it. It's somewhere in there. 10 to 15 probably is all I'm getting out of it. It's a little bit of weight at the top. But it's at the peak contraction where a lot of times we're losing tension on this exercise. So that's a good spot to add it. And that's why the bands are unique to it. And I think over time, obviously, as I do more and more of these with bands, I'll go to heavier bands. And we'll use that for progressive overload. And keep building my hamstrings. Because I know my hamstrings are a possible weak link in my sumo deadlifts. And having bigger, thicker hamstrings, particularly from a motion like this, is good for injury prevention. All around, knee stability, everything else. It's just good to have. It's good to have. And it will, over time, improve my big lifts. So we'll just keep loading it progressively over time. And I do a lot of volume on it. It's usually 5 sets of 10. So that little bit of extra tension does add up very, very quickly when you're doing a lot of volume. And we'll keep it moving forward, bit by bit by bit. So I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.